Okay. Okay, alright, hang on. I can already see in chat there are a lot of people talking about the document that got made on me. I don't want to, like, stream and act like, you know, nothing's happening. So obviously, if you've seen on Twitter, there is a Google Doc that's been made on me. The point I'm trying to make is I can't just go ahead and respond to it now. I need to now wait for all the YouTubers and everyone to jump in and have their say and say their piece about it. And then I need to respond to it. If I do.
Pyrocynical files.
Teenagers who gives
Fine. Clown, your friend, your buddy came out and lied multiple fucking times on Reddit about that scenario, and you're gonna defend him?
I am gonna defend him because there was nothing. It's a big nothing burger.
Pyrocynical is someone who needs no introduction. But I'm gonna do it anyway. He's a popular YouTuber known for his commentary channel, which stands at 4.8 million subs right now, where he got started doing MLG edits, the fudging original brain rot.
Oh my god!
But recently, there's been a 320-page document released on Pyro, detailing on a plethora of allegations. When I first heard about this doc, dude, I honestly just thought like, you know what, it's probably a nothing burger. It's probably just like someone who just like really hates Pyro and they're just like, I want to cancel Pyro so badly. So I just did not even think about reading it till I began to get curious about the document, so I decided to read through it myself. And some of the allegations, they're pretty bad. They're like fudging bad. So today in this video, I want to go through each and every allegation directed towards Pyro and see whether or not these allegations could possibly be true. In 2020, Pyro was accused of grooting a minor when he was 20 years old. The supposed minor was Ivory Rasmus. Ivory claimed that Pyro groomed him. At 15 years old, Pyro and Ivory, they would engage in erotic roleplay on Discord. And these messages would include fantasy roleplay between Ivory and Pyrocynical. Now when Pyro addressed these allegations in his response video, he stated that he did not know of Ivory's age, and when he did eventually find out that Ivory was 16, he still continued the ERP, but then stated in his video that he should never continue talking with Ivory in that way.
When Ivory linked me his Twitter profile, the age in bio says 16. This is something I acknowledged in my Reddit post, but to be fair, I probably didn't elaborate enough on it. In retrospect, I never should have continued the furry stuff with him once I learnt of his age, even though at the time, I didn't see it as a problem.
But when looking at the document, they claim that Pyro did know of Ivory's age the whole time. For example, they first bring up that Ida knew of Ivory's age, and because Ida knew of Ivory's age, therefore Pyro should have known about Ivory's age since him and Ida are together. But Pyro already addressed this in his response video.
Pyrocynical, who at the time was expressing interest in Ivory and being in a relationship with him at the time, which was corroborated by Pyrocynical's at the time soon-to-be girlfriend, still never knew Ivory's age. An age with Ida clearly acknowledged, and an age which she thought would not dissuade him from being in a relationship with Ivory. Somehow Ivory never mentioned his age, and no one else mentioned his age in the presence of Pyrocynical outside of all these clear instances, even once. So here they're trying to make it seem impossible I wouldn't have known his age, or had to do some kind of like insane mental gymnastics to never find out. But if you look at the DMs Ivory provided himself for this document, you can see that he's confiding with Ida about age being a problem. Keep in mind as well, I was not in a relationship with Ida until about mid-2019. This document claims it as soon to be, but like, it's a whole 2 years before we actually start dating, and 2 whole years before this conversation took place. I mean, we both talked before, but we weren't close. She had no reason to confide with me with someone else's private information. So back when Ivory opened up to Ida about something private, there is no guarantee that she would have came and told me, despite the fact that this document and videos based off this document claim it as concrete, irrefutable proof.
Another piece of evidence the document shows that Pyro definitely knew about Ivory's age is on Ivory's scene talking to Pyro about a Twitter drama they had with a Twitter artist named Ellie during April 21st, 2017, which was Ivory's 16th birthday. And Ivory showed Pyro the Twitter DMs between them and Ellie. I'll try and find the DMs because he did it on my birthday, when I was annoyed and sad about the lad's tour and stuff. Now, like the document stated, they said that since they sent these DMs to Pyro and stated in these DMs that it was their birthday, Pyro was supposed to know that, oh, it was Ivory's birthday in April, that means Ivory's a minor. Which is honestly a ridiculous thing to even show as evidence to, because again, Pyro did not know that Ivory was a minor at this time. They only found out Ivory was underage on July 5th, 2017. And when looking at the date Ivory sent these DMs to Pyro, I can't clearly make out the date there because I can't tell whether that's a 5 or a 3, but these messages were definitely sent way before Pyro found out about Ivory's age. So this doesn't really work as like strong evidence to prove that Pyro definitely knew that Ivory was underage. Another piece of evidence the document uses to say that Pyro definitely knew of Ivory's age is when Ivory was tweeting about their birthday. Now again, Pyro has also addressed this in his own response video.
Pyrocynical never saw any of the tweets of Ivory explicitly saying that he was 15 years old on an account Pyrocynical follow and interacted with regularly. They then provide a list of Ivory stating his age multiple times on Twitter, and that of course leaves the very last one. But like, what are the chances of you catching one specific tweet when you follow hundreds of people?
The document's next piece of evidence is that Pyro should have definitely known Ivory was underage when Ivory told Pyro that they're in school. Good baby, just chilling in school and playing, I can't read that, yeah baby, Chrysler. Now when reading that piece of evidence, I have to say there's some pretty solid evidence to use against Pyro to say that dude should have known Ivory was underage when they told him they're in school right now. To give Pyro the benefit of the doubt and just say maybe he thought when Ivory said that it meant that they're in like college or something. But I don't know dude, Pyro should have definitely started questioning the possibility of Ivory being underage at that point. Oh yeah, another piece of evidence is the doc saying that Pyro would call Ivory small boy in their DMs. That means Pyro definitely knew that Ivory was underage. That's a bit of a stretch dude because honestly that's probably just how Pyro talks to like his friends or whatever. Just wanted to point that one out because I just thought that was kind of dumb to point out as like, oh hey, he called them a small boy. That means he definitely knew of their age. Pretty dumb dude. The next piece of evidence the document uses to claim that Pyro definitely knew of Ivory's age is that him and Ivory would have phone calls with each other, and also that Pyro knew of Ivory's real name but somehow didn't know of Ivory's age. I have to say I have to agree with them because how is it that Pyro knew of Ivory's real name, had phone calls with them, but never asked them for their age? That's a bit weird because how do you get their name but nothing in the conversation comes up about their age? And also when having phone calls with Ivory, I mean dude, couldn't you hear like they sounded a bit young? I mean this was during the time when they were like 15, 16, so Pyro should have definitely been able to tell at least that hey, this person sounds pretty young dude. I'm not sure how Pyro could have not been able to tell that Ivory's probably a minor from the sound of their voice. Now the document brings up the time Pyro invited Ivory over to an event in the UK, and Ivory was discussing with Pyro about obtaining a fake ID because of their age. They were worried about not being allowed into the event. Yo loser, when's the earliest I could come down there? Or wherever you live? Ooh woo. Gosh, dude, how could you not tell that I was a child from the ooh woo? I'm actually considering asking. Ooh woo. Oop, do you think I could come earlier than that? All of the flight prices increased by $200 right before the 14th. Yeah, I don't know except for sneaking in or making a fake ID because I think I kind of look that age. Ooh woo. Now when looking at these messages, I think this is a clear dead giveaway that Ivory's saying here, hey, I'm underage, so they probably won't let me in, so I either have to make a fake ID or else I won't be allowed in. Now Pyro did display these messages in his response video.
To disprove this, I'd actually have to see something to disprove, but there's literally nothing. It's a blanket statement of Pyrocynical me. The only thing I can possibly think of is inviting him and a bunch of other people to an event in the UK.
But looking at the date of these messages date back to May 6th, 2017. And Pyro only knew of Ivory's age on July 5th, 2017. And these messages are 2 months old. So how did Pyro immediately not just think to himself, oh fudge, this dude's a minor? And again, in his response video, he just said that Ivory was 16 at this time. But Pyro only found out about Ivory's age on July 5th, 2017. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I think Pyro definitely knew of Ivory's age. The document claims that the messages Pyro and Ivory engaged in were not just furry fantasy, but were actually sexual. Now I subjected myself to reading through all of the messages, and I can say with confidence, no, they were not sexual. Well, I mean, they were sexual, but they were not in the send news, watch me bust all over my screen type combo. But just in the way that Pyro described it in his response video. It was just purely furry fantasy stank. Yeah, though the butt and thighs are so heckin' nice. Sends big, obese, furry. True. To be honest, like, all of your sonas are daddy material. Yes. Bless you. Jesus, okay. We got ourselves a dog just absolutely banging an owl, is what it looks like. Skinny guys are outdated. Get yourself a fat fudging loser. And then we have the most infamous one. To be honest, I'd pick you up, hug you while rubbing you against my big, sweaty moobs. Jesus. Kiss your cheeks, telling you how much I loved you. And then kiss you on the lips and let out a hard, long belch. Holy Christ. And I just moan and smell in your musk and say how much I loved you too. Ah, glop. To be honest, I'd love for you to just get up while I'm sitting down and have you start grinding on my... grinding on my Sona's penson while he just gasses non-stop, to be honest. Holy, it'd eat your penson up with my butt. To be honest, fart so long and hard on your lap you wouldn't be able to breathe. My butt and back would be dripping in sweat. Got the thick of my dragon, by the way. And then he just sends a pic of his thick dragon Sona. Anyway, yeah, like I said, they weren't really in the nature of sending nudes, sending pictures of one another and just jork into that stank. It was just Pyro and Ivory talking about their furry fart fantasies. Holy Christ, what the fuck did I just read? For the Ivory section, all I have to say is this. Pyro should have never been speaking to Ivory that way. From the first day him and Ivory started talking to each other, he should have verified Ivory's age. He should have cut all communication with Ivory the moment he found out he was a minor. And he should have not been having such explicit messages with a minor.
Now, I do want to directly say something to Ivory and apologize to him and to anyone else that I did the furry roleplay garbage with. What seemed consensual and reciprocal may very well not have been. It's not my place to decide. It happened. It was my responsibility to verify age, and I never did, and I am sorry for that. You shouldn't have been put in that situation, and it was stupid of me to message people about this furry stuff without taking into account the influence of my platform, especially considering how sexual the tone of these messages were. It wasn't until later where I decided this was an issue and decided to stop entirely. I hope you can understand the frustration in my original...
The next section of the document claims that Pyrocynical allegedly commissioned Ida when she was a minor to make NSFW art for him. And the document makes this claim because Pyrocynical is seen here making a tweet tagging Ida, stating the word thick, and then a month later she would create NSFW art of Pyrocynical's Sona. But when looking at the screenshot for this evidence, we see that Ivory's the one seen sending Pyro the NSFW art that was made by Ida, not Pyro. He didn't say anything about it. Now looking at the images that Ida did of Pyrocynical's Sona, they're not really... I know it sounds like I'm coping when I say that, but they're really not. I mean, like in all three images, it's just Pyro's Sona, just morbidly obese. In one image, he's just like crawling on the floor, reaching for cake. The other, he's just, I don't know, blushing at the cake that's on his stomach. And the third one, I guess it could be kind of because it's Pyro on top of, I believe, Ida's Sona with like just surrounded by gas. So I guess that could be kind of but comparing this to the messages Pyro and Ivory engaged in, especially with the images they sent to one another, yeah, it's not in any way whatsoever. I also have to say that the document claiming that these drawings are like furry fetish is kind of a reach. Also, like, there's not evidence provided that Pyro commissioned Ida, because the document states that he commissioned her, so just saying that he paid her to make NSFW art when she was like 17. Yet there's no proof of that. I mean, there's only just that one tweet of him tagging her saying thick, and then just a month later she just made these 3 drawings. So it's not really any like solid evidence to prove that yeah, he did it. So yeah, I don't know, I think this one was a bit of a reach, honestly. Back in 2016, there were allegations that Pyrocynical was dating a 14-year-old French girl, and these allegations were made by Keemstar and a group of 3 people who provided Keemstar with these allegations. These 3 people were Chili SC-Go, Snipers, and Vagabonds. The 3 of them were former friends with Pyrocynical. These allegations came out because Keemstar was mad at Pyro for calling him out on his coverage on the Tabascus allegations.
Now, to understand where Keemstar has developed his hatred for me, and literally can't say a single sentence without uttering the word pyro. We have to go all the way back to the 9th of April, where I uploaded a video titled Keemstar and Tabasca's rant. A video in which I suggested to Keemstar that he should have verbally said that the controversy around Toby Turner's was an allegation, mainly because literally 20 minutes after Keemstar's video went public, all of Toby's channels were flooded with hateful comments and dislikes of people who thought he was genuinely a racist. Now, after I suggested that Keemstar should add a disclaimer that these were simply allegations going something along the lines of innocent until proven guilty, Keemstar didn't really like my suggestion and took to Twitter.
He got mad at Pyro, so he wanted to get back at him, and that's when he came out with the allegations that Pyrocynical was dating a 14-year-old French girl. Pyro then responded, stating that he was not dating a 14-year-old French girl, and also was kinda alluding to the fact that Keemstar was making up the story because he just kept changing the age over and over.
Now, if any of you didn't notice that, he just deliberately lowered the age. Now, originally, this alleged girl was 15, and now Keemstar has lowered the age to 14, probably to make it sound even more impacting and incriminating. And guess what? Later on stream, he lowered the age again to say the girl was now 13, and on top of that, basically insinuating that I was a pedophile.
Pyro was trying to hook up with a 13-year-old girl from France, alright? That he was technically like a or weirdo or something, right?
So this man has lied about the age of this girl on 2 separate occasions, and knowing Keemstar, this girl will probably be an embryo by next week.
Then Keemstar released DMs between Pyro and the supposed underage French girl, which then made Pyro decide to respond on his subreddit regarding these DMs and the whole entire situation. In his Reddit post, he stated, "Firstly, allow me to address, we were never dating. This was a 15-year-old girl I was 18 at the time, who I talked to for a short span of time, and the majority of our conversations was simply about our countries, her art, and various other topics that you'd have with a friend." Okay, that's pretty normal. They were just friends, cool, whatever. Pretty weird for an 18-year-old and 15-year-old to be friends, but hey, they were friends, that's cool. I said happy to wait for you to hit 16, meaning that nothing sexual transpired, and I was happy to wait for her to reach the age of consent if we were to ever have a proper relationship, bearing in mind we still had never met each other in person. Dude, what do you mean? Happy to wait for you until you hit 16. Happy to wait for her to reach the age of consent. I thought you were just friends, Pyro. What the fudge, dude? Oh, that's kind of a dead giveaway. I think he just self-reported right there that, hey guys, you know what? Was I talking to this 15-year-old girl? Yes. But hey, listen. I was waiting for her to reach the age of consent. That's how it comes off. I really don't know why he said that. In his Reddit post, he says that the use of the word relationship that's seen in the DMs is him referring to his friendship with her. Again, Pyro, when looking at the previous message, you said you were willing to wait for her until she reaches the age of consent. I do not know who ever has said that to their friend saying, hey dude, we can totally hang out when you reach the age of consent. Only then, until then, stay the fudge away from me. This just comes off as him trying to like hide something, which later on we find out he kinda was. Later, certain individuals began to insinuate that there was something special between us, and that we had met up in real life, even though those two things never happened. I live in the UK and she lives in France, and this has led to 3 individuals and Keemstar to create a Skype group chat in an attempt to expose me. This led to me having to end contact with the girl, as knowing how these individuals work and think, I knew they would try and falsely incriminate me and potentially invade her privacy. Again, to repeat myself, I never had any sexual interactions with this girl, no nudes, no meetups, nothing of the sort. He reiterates that nothing between him and the French girl ever happened. But again, he did state that he was willing to wait for her until she reached the age of consent, which comes off as he was interested in pursuing a relationship with her by the time she turned 16. Then in his Reddit post, he then states that one of the people in the Skype group chat with Keemstar, he found out that one of them is actually an alleged themselves. I originally came across the Skype group by one of the members being contacted by Keemstar on their stream, and this was seen by one of their ex-girlfriends and was then passed on to me. Later I was sent information of this individual allegedly meeting up with a girl who was 15 at the time and having sex with her when he was 19. I confronted him about this and said how even though I have information he allegedly has with a minor, I won't make it public, even though he was actively participating in a Skype group spewing misinformation about me, which he himself admitted was not true. Now this person that Pyro is speaking of in this part of the Reddit post is Vagabonds. Vagabonds also had allegations about him meeting up with a minor and sleeping with a minor. Now Pyro stated in his Reddit post that he decided not to go public with it. I don't understand why he didn't go public with these allegations, because he had evidence from Vagabond's ex-girlfriend, which can't be accessed right now because when you click on the link he provided, it just takes you to a page that's just completely blank. think. But I still don't understand why he didn't go public with it. I mean, I can kind of get why he didn't go public with it, because he probably just thought, these are allegations, I don't want to make them public because in case they're not real or whatever. But he had pretty like solid evidence to like at least come out and say, hey, Vagabond is accusing me of this whilst he also has allegations like these. So I'm not really sure why he didn't come out with it. And the document states that Pyro didn't come out with these allegations because he was trying to protect Vagabonds, which I don't know if that's a valid claim to make, dude. Like, that's a pretty malicious claim to make, actually. Sure, he didn't come up with them and that was kind of irresponsible on his part, but stating that he was trying to protect Vagabonds, that doesn't really come off as true. Plus, dude was really trying to get back at Pyro. Why would he try and protect someone trying to stab him in the back? But once Pyro responded to these allegations in his Reddit post, that's where it ended with the French girl situation. Until in 2020, Keemstar finally found her and interviewed her.
I have her on the line. I finally got a hold of her 4 years later. And so I'd like to introduce you to Lou, the underage French girl.
Luann, which is the name of the French girl, states that she was a fan of Pyro and she did fan art for him and other YouTubers.
I was a fan artist for him and his group of friends. So all these YouTubers in the community he was in. I drew him a lot because, well, he was my favorite of them all.
He eventually ended up following her and she DM'd him thanking him for his support. Then after a few months of talking to each other, they eventually ended up dating. And Luann herself, she does state that her and Pyro did date one another.
At some point, this develops into a romantic relationship. When did that take place?
Well, not very long after. I guess we'll have known each other for like a few months before this happened. In DMs we did start maybe a little bit flirting, saying that, well, we like each other's personalities and he appreciates what I do for him and I appreciate his company. So it was quite, young love, like where you have a crush.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you, he said that, like, he never dated you, like that you weren't his girlfriend. But were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah, we were.
And she also reveals that she was not 15 when her and Pyro were talking to one another. She was actually 14.
In his response, he said that you were 15 years old and he was 18. Why did he say that you were 15?
I have no idea. Maybe to make it less shocking. Maybe to make the age gap smaller by a year, because maybe people thought it would be not nicer, but less wrong, because...
But what if Pyrocynical responds to this and says, well, she lied about her age. She told me that she was older.
He knew I was born in 2001, which would have made me 14 years old when it was 2015.
I don't know why Pyro lied about the age. Maybe he thought, a 3-year age gap is way better than a 4-year age gap. So if this is true, then he was definitely lying in both his YouTube video and the Reddit post. And also when looking back at those DMs, it makes a lot more sense why he said to her, I'm willing to wait for you to hit the age of consent. But Luann and Pyro only dated for 2 weeks and then eventually broke up. Probably because of the whole Keemstar nearly exposing Pyro for dating her. When her and Pyro broke up, she eventually started dating a 23-year-old YouTuber, Ancient Reality. She claims in this interview that Pyro, Anything For Yous, and Dolan Dark all knew that Ancient Reality was dating a minor. Now, she made this claim, but when looking at this tweet over here, she states that indeed he didn't know. Don't blame him because he wasn't aware at all. No one did. Because Ancient Reality forced me to deactivate and I wasn't allowed to speak to anyone. If anything made him mad, he threatened me with harm and so here she's clearing Dolan's name, saying Dolan did not know that Ancient Reality was dating a minor. But yet Pyro knew of this relationship? I don't know, dude. I mean, the only thing I could find of Pyro giving a response on this whole thing was in this Toastify video, but even in the Toastify video, he doesn't even really show that this message comes from Pyro. It's just a body of text stating that he didn't know much about the situation and he did eventually confront Ancient Reality in December about what he allegedly did to her.
If you recall, the breakup messages prove that Pyro was one of the only people who was aware of the relationship to some extent, as he recalls talking about the French girl to Mick. And as Lou said, it's very likely Pyro knew the age difference of this fucked up relationship, something he would continue to never speak out about. That being said, there are still many uncertainties regarding his knowledge of the events that followed. Specifically, if he'd ever thought they'd broken up, or how close he and Mick were as the years went on. Questions like these led us to reach out to him for an interview several times, first by ourselves, and then through the aforementioned Anonymous. He refused to answer questions involving any of these troubling allegations. That being said, as we continued to push, we eventually received a statement from him that read as follows. It might be helpful to mention that when I found out the extent of what happened, I did confront Mick in December about what he allegedly did to her. He totally denied it, saying it was nothing more than a friendly meeting. The parents were around, so nothing sexual could have happened anyways. He then removed me a few weeks later.
Now again, Toastify does not show any verification to say this is Pyrocynical I'm talking to. This is a statement directly from Pyrocynical. It's just a long body of text that could honestly be from anyone. But I really don't understand why she'd want to put the blame on Pyro when it seems like he just did not know about this. Again, if I'm proven to be wrong about he did actually know about this, then he should be held accountable for it.
So you start dating this other YouTuber, and his name is
Ancient Reality.
Ancient Reality. People know that this is a very inappropriate relationship. Why didn't anybody say anything publicly?
I have no idea why. Anything for views try to help me, and sadly I denied it because I was very stupid, and nobody else tried to help or thought it was wrong. They talked about it to me. They never said it was bad or never considered asking me to leave the relationship.
Now, seeing that Chad tried to help her out of this relationship, it is a bit confusing that Dolan and Pyro supposedly did not know about this. It is a bit confusing because she did claim on her Twitter that Dolan did not know about this. And then for Pyro, she did claim he did know, but again, there's no sufficient evidence to claim that he did. And when we go further into the interview, they still put this blame on Pyro, saying that possibly if he put an effort to stop this relationship, it could have stopped.
These different YouTubers, especially Pyro. Pyro had first-hand knowledge. If he would have came out and said, look, I know this girl's age, this relationship is going on, he could have put a stop to it like I put a stop to you and Pyro's relationship before it got to a point of statutory. Is that a true statement?
Yeah.
But I view it as completely unfair because Chad already tried helping you to get out of it, but he couldn't stop the relationship at all. Yet you're putting this pressure on Pyro to have stopped it. I don't understand why the blame is being put solely on Pyro as in being the main reason this whole thing could have ended. It comes up as totally unfair because you said Dolan didn't know and Chad already tried helping you. But for some reason, Pyro could have stopped this if he intervened somewhere or somehow. Now, near the end of the interview, Keemstar states that Pyrocynical was 18 during this time and that he made a mistake by dating Luann around this time.
If I could defend Pyro at all in this scenario, Pyro is 18 years old at the time, right? He's not 23. He doesn't have enough life experience. And when you are this age, you're going to make stupid mistakes and do dumb stuff.
Sure, Pyro was 18 years old at the time. He was also a teenager, but he honestly should have known better, dude. I mean, you're 18. Sure, you're a teenager, but you're also an adult. After this interview came out, Colossal made a tweet stating that him, Pyro, and Dolan would be addressing the Asian reality and Luann situation on their podcast. Ever since then, they haven't really addressed that issue on the podcast at all. I looked through their podcast and they haven't mentioned it not once. They haven't even spoken about Luann at least. So I don't think they'll ever be covering the Asian reality and Luann situation on their podcast at all. Wait, but one quick thing. For some reason, Colossal actually spoke about the Pyro and Luann situation on his podcast with Keemstar and Tommy. You can't defend Pyro by just saying that they were both teenagers, it was an e-relationship, they had nothing but nice things to say about him.
So you're doing a podcast on a 13-year-old French girl?
Your girlfriend?
Not my girlfriend.
No.
That's Pyro's.
Are you really going to take a swing at Pyro? Jesus Christ.
I mean, I was proven right. I interviewed the girl.
Oh, you called him a... Was he a... Silence. Dead. Silence after that.
I mean, he was... Well, dude,
much for
he was
Keemstar
dating...
being always right.
Why are you interrupting me? I was right. Was he or was he not in a relationship with a girl that was, I believe it came out to be 14 at the time?
He was in an e-relationship. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever occurred.
With an e-relationship with a 14-year-old when he was what?
I don't think he's 14.
19?
No,
she was. I interviewed her. We got the correct age.
He was 17.
Yeah, that's right. He made
No, he wasn't. No,
he was 17.
No, he wasn't.
Keemstar is always right, guys.
Not at that time.
Yes, he
And
was.
Not at that time. He wasn't 17
Nothing
at that
ever
time.
happened, no news exchanged. Just a big nothing burger. And by the way, this girl has come out, and she said Pyrocynical was nothing but a nice guy, nothing but nice things to say about him.
Yeah, that's true. No, 100%. Nothing.
And she was more talking about this guy, Ancient Reality.
Yes.
And that information, that documentary, that video should have come out, and Keemstar had a hand in that video not coming out, and she blames you for a big part of that.
No, I didn't.
You couldn't make it about Pyrocynical, but you were desperately trying to.
The ages, clown! The ages! The ages!
Who gives a I mean, who gives a story? Nothing happened. They E-dated while they were both teenagers. Who gives a
Clown, your friend, your buddy came out and lied multiple times on Reddit about that scenario, and you're gonna defend him?
I am gonna defend him because there was nothing. It's a big nothing burger.
Pyro was 18, dude, and Lana was like, what, fucking 14? We fucking found out, not 15, but 14. Kind of weird that he defended Pyro on that, but whatever, I just wanted to point that out. Popular Twitter furry artist called Igloo Fella made a tweet discussing one of the alleged victims of Pyrocynical, who had made contact with them in DMs. These tweets came from an anonymous person who stated that this alleged victim claimed that when they were 12 years old, Pyrocynical would add him to Skype and ask him to draw NSFW art for him. Basically, when I was 12, I was in a Skype group with him and a few other artists. This was back in 2016, I believe. He would go into my DMs and ask me to draw fat and ask again if I ever tried to talk to her. I thought it was a joke, so I drew him as like a nondescript blob, not knowing it was a real thing. I've been wanting to come out about this for years. But Skype purged message history for inactive users around 2018. There's virtually no way I can show proof, unfortunately. But I know I'm not the only one this has happened to. This person claims that when they were 12 years old, Pyrocynical would ask them to draw NSFW art for him. And this was all done through Skype. And they claim they aren't able to show any proof of these conversations because Skype wiped all inactive users' messages in 2018. But when looking into this, I found out that the whole thing about Skype wiping out inactive users in 2018 is absolute beast-tank. It's still possible for you to retrieve old messages from way back then. And this person has shown that they still have that same Skype account that they were using to communicate with Pyrocynical back in 2018. And I'm not the one who said this. Literally, someone in the replies of this tweet said that you can still retrieve your old Skype messages. And Igloo Fella responded with, send this over to them, I'm gonna wait for a response. I'll most likely get it later in the day. And I went to their Twitter and they have not spoken about this ever since they made this tweet. Now, going through all of that now, I'm starting to think that this person over here is probably lying. But again, that's all the evidence I could find to disprove their claim that their Skype messages were wiped out, when it's proven that you can still retrieve those old messages as long as you have the original Skype account. But again, if there is any new evidence that comes up by this person, I will take back what I said, dude. Until then, I have to say this person is most probably just lying. Pink is an alleged victim of Pyrocynical when he was 15 years old. He claims that Pyrocynical would have sexual conversations with him when he was 15 to 16 years old, and they would engage in sexual activities like discussing fetishes. Fetishes. Oh my god, I can't fucking say this word. Fetishes. Fetish plural. That's all I'll fucking say. Christ, I can't fucking say that word. I'm tired. I don't care anymore what happens to me or if anyone will ever believe me. I can't keep it in anymore. It hurts so much. I never came out about it sooner because to me, I thought it was normal. When I realized it wasn't, it was too late. When I was around 15 to 16, I had several conversations with Pyrocynical. He was well aware of my age. I remember telling him more than once in different calls. I know this alone won't convince anyone. I don't have screenshots and my recollections of events are lacking at best. I have memory problems. But I can't keep this in anymore. Pyro me. I was a hyper mentally ill teenager who barely knew how to converse. He never once told me to stop. It would have been 19 to 20 around this period. He said he allowed me to make fetish artwork of him, both his Fox Sona and Dragonman. Now, this person didn't have any solid evidence except for just a drawing they did of Pyrocynical to prove that Pyrocynical did and they did have conversations with Pyrocynical. I don't want to immediately just disavow this person and say, hey dude, you're lying, shut the fudge up. There's a possibility that they could be telling the truth and they just simply don't have any evidence. But again, as we've seen with the other person, the supposed 12-year-old victim who claimed that they didn't have any proof because their Skype got wiped in 2018, which was proven to be a lie. I don't know, it's a bit difficult to decide whether or not Pink could be telling the truth or not. In the document, the Twitter handle has been censored, so there's no way of me finding out whether or not they've provided any new evidence to back their claims or not. All I've said is this will probably be true, but until there's any further evidence, I don't know. This will most probably be a lie, but again, I just don't want to completely disavow follow this person because they could most probably be telling the truth. Because another piece of evidence they provided was that Pyro was following them, and yeah, looking at the screenshot, Pyro was following them, but that doesn't really prove that he was having inappropriate conversations with Pink when they were like 15, 16 years old. Assault was a commentary orbiter who was associated with people like Dolan Dark, Solid Shibe, and Pyrocynical himself. He was often seen engaging in Discord servers where members of Pyrocynical's friend group were at. The document claims that Assault is a victim of Pyrocynical as well, because when looking back at the Twitter DMs between Ivory and Ida, we see that Ivory brings up someone named Assault in their conversation. Okay, like who? Don't do this thing because you're being pressured by other people, man. Assault is the same age as me, and Niall hit him up when he was 18 too. I have a hard time believing Niall slid into their DMs asking if they jerk off to that stank too. Now in this message, Ivory is claiming that Assault is another victim of Pyrocynical. But when looking at the evidence that is used to prove that Assault is a victim of Pyrocynical, I don't know, dude. It doesn't really come off as pretty credible proof at all. First piece of evidence provided is this video from a random Twitter user.
What the f did I just read? Like, seriously, what is this? If you're gonna try and use evidence, at least make it make sense, you idiot. Oh, look at me, guys, I'm Pyrocynical is innocent. A thread with such evidence such as some kid singing and clearly joking about e-fame and some no-life recording this all. Also, did you know blocking someone over a breach of privacy is considered evidence? Yeah, f you for being uncomfortable when someone is recording you without your knowledge. Sus, am I right, guys? Please, I'm begging for your validation, because I want Pyrocynical to be innocent so badly. Anyways, please stop living in your bubble and come out. I wasn't, but I know what he went through in terms of someone important to you wanting content provided that you give it to them. What's funny is that this person I'm mentioning was actually in close contact with Pyrocynical. It's not much to go off, but I believe what Ivory is showing us all is the truth, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, dude, that video was just absolute fudging cancer. Holy fudge. Now, looking at the messages that were displayed in the video, we see that these messages are between Assault and an artist he was speaking to in Discord. And the conversation is really weird. I really don't know how else to explain it. Okay, I wanna be like shrunk, alright? And like you'd be looking around for me and wouldn't know be shrunk. But I'd be in like your shoe or something. Can you talk about it from there maybe? But you wouldn't have your shoe on yet. Yes. You can be like squished under a foot. MH, SSSK. Press really hard. That's fun. Yes. I don't know what the fudge that's supposed to mean. Yes. I want to be jumped on. HFDHD, whatever the fudge that means. Okay, so those are the messages, and those are which, okay, I guess since Assault has a foot, I guess that's fantasy of his, but these are between him and some artist he was speaking to. I don't understand why this was included because it has nothing to do with Pyrocynical. Evidence that was showing that Pyrocynical possibly Assault is just this one Discord message where it's Assault talking about congratulating Pyrocynical on reaching 2 million subscribers, and this one DM between Pyrocynical and Assault. Congratulations, you're still a virgin. You actually get more fan art than me at this point, and I bet you haven't even paid a single cent. You are an e-beggar, Justin. And this is proof that Assault had close contact with Pyrocynical, which is true. I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious here that him and Assault were friends, yeah, but I don't see how this proves at all that Pyrocynical has conversations with Assault, like at all. Nothing in this whole interaction over here shows that. And then the document goes on to claim that Pyrocynical is talking about Assault receiving way more fan art than him, and they're claiming that when Pyrocynical says fan art, he's actually talking about furry fart art, which honestly, that's a bit of a stretch now. I mean, you're making this claim that Pyrocynical was talking about Assault receiving furry fart art, but you have no proof of this. The only one instance of a sexual conversation you have is between Assault and some random artist you are speaking to. But for Pyro, all you could find was Assault congratulating him on 2 million subscribers and them talking about who receives more fan art. That's pretty insane. Again, the one piece of evidence I guess you can point to is Ivory claiming that Pyro did the same thing to Assault when Assault was 15 years old, but there's no evidence for that. I mean, Assault hasn't spoken on this at all. Ivory hasn't provided any evidence on this, and neither is this document. There's nothing at all. They just only shown us that Pyro and Assault were pretty close to one another, I guess. They were friends with one another. Other than that, there's no proof that Pyro Assault did anything with Assault. Other than that, there's not really any evidence that Pyro spoke inappropriately with Assault when he was like underage. Abortionasmr, someone who came out with her alleged experience with Pyrocynical, claimed that when she was 15 years old, she would engage in conversations with Pyrocynical when he was 19. Pyrocynical really sent me an inflated fighting police dog saying it's my persona and I didn't stop him. She then goes on to show proof that her and Pyro were in fact communicating with one another when she was 15 and he was 19 years old. Wait, do you actually like thick fur stuff? Why do you not believe me? Oh my gosh. Yes, Uwu. What the fuck was all people saying that thing? Chrysler. Yes, Uwu. Oh my F. Wait, don't have you on Skype? No. Oh, Stank, what is it? I'll add you. Don't judge me. It's Mad Mama X3. Added ya. When looking at this conversation between her and Pyro, I don't really view it as really inappropriate. I mean, it's just like Pyrocynical sending like photos of his Sona, and like sure, it's like the massive obese one, but when comparing this to the Ivory messages, it's just not really in any way whatsoever. So yeah, I just gotta say, like, so far, I don't think these are actually at all inappropriate, dude. I mean, looks like a pretty okay conversation to be having. Are you into this kind of stuff? I take it. Yeah, it's cute. I got more, but it's super gassy. I don't know if you're into that. Oh, Chrysler. Okay, I'm still standing by my statement. It's not but why are we sending gassy stank to children, dude? What's going on over here? I've never seen it in a style like that, but send it anyways. Sends image. I think it's pretty nice, to be honest. I love it. Do you find it hot? Right, no, yeah, okay, yeah, unlucky, fudging egg, unlucky, dude. Are you fudging kidding me? Okay, this is obviously the beginning of a conversation. I don't get it, dude, what the fuck? That was so good, I'm surprised. Yeah, I didn't think you'd find this stuff hot, to be honest. Yeah, Pyro, no. I'm okay with anything, as long as it's not scat, honestly. Yeah, same, to be honest. Are you only into furry thick? Yeah, pretty much. Why? Sends picture. Do you like anime thick as well? Fudging heck, dude. Oh my Chrysler. I was done having a conversation with this 15-year-old at the time. Okay, now, to be fair to Pyro, yes, he does ask her, do you find it hot? And also, are you into thick? That's about like the only two messages I could find within these DMs. But still, the fact that he even brought it up at all, that's an issue, dude. I mean, but then to be devil's advocate, which I know, I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. There is nothing about age discussed at all. Nowhere in this document do they mention if Abortionasmr had her age in her bio. Nowhere is it mentioned that she told Pyro her age and Pyrocynical was aware of her age. Nothing about her age is brought up. So that's the only bit of somewhat evidence I have to state that Pyro probably didn't know this person's age. But also, he honestly should have asked for age, because why are you just randomly talking to some random person on Twitter about furry thick, dude? It's so dumb. I don't understand why the fuck you do that. Now, this doesn't mean that Pyro's in the clear, but all I'm saying is that age was not at all brought up nor discussed, both in the document and also those DMs. So until we get more information on that, I don't know, dude. I'm just gonna have to go with the assumption that Pyrocynical probably didn't know this person's age. Now, Mewibos was a 14-year-old artist who did NSFW art sometimes, and the document claims that Pyrocynical allegedly commissioned him to do art for him. But there isn't really much evidence to prove that Pyro commissioned this 14-year-old at the time to make art for him, because the only evidence we have so far is that Pyro liked one of their tweets and also featured Mewibos' art in one of his videos.
Hey Luigi, let's make another video.
So before I start today's video, I've got a really important announcement to make. The Lord and Savior, the God of YouTube,
And because Pyro featured Mew's fan art in one of his videos, therefore he commissioned him for that piece. But correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Pyrocynical just like feature fan art that he finds on Twitter that he's been like tagged on? Anyway, because of Pyro featuring Mew's art in his video, that means yeah, he definitely commissioned him to do art for him. Even in the doc itself, it says that just because Pyrocynical featured Mew's art in his video, it doesn't mean that the allegations are true. But yet they're still trying to like really push hard on these allegations, saying that but there's a possibility that he did it. Come on, like believe me guys, he definitely did it. Like dude, I don't know, these allegations don't really hold any weight at all. Like there really is no evidence provided in this document to prove that Pyrocynical commissioned a 14-year-old to draw art for him. I really don't know why this allegation was even brought up, because there is no proof at all provided. It's just pure speculation. In 2016, a user named Cat with the Mac made a tweet showing a private DM between them and Pyrocynical in 2015. And in this tweet, we see Pyrocynical sending furry to this alleged victim. Hello, baby. Oh! Dude, I just cringed reading that stank. Hello, baby. We've never talked, so allow me to offer you a foxy booty as a blessing, okay? Love you, baby. See you soon. Yo, what the fudge? Oh my god. After reading that message, first off, I fucking cringed reading that stank. I hated reading that stank. Second off, when you see the image, yeah, that's a pretty, that's just a full-on image, dude. Like, that's just fucking right there. Reading this, they've obviously spoken to each other before, and it's just really weird that he just sent him that thing, because Pyro did follow this account, and this person Turk did make tweets about their age, but yeah, again, sure, plausible that Pyro didn't see their age, but again, dude, like, it can't be happening this often for you to just be speaking to a random minor, sending them furry, and then not know their age. I mean, you had to have known of their age, dude. I mean, you're literally following this person. Now, Turk has made a tweet saying, Pyrocynical spoke to me one time when I was like 15, but I don't care because I like him. And sure, some people would use that and be like, see, he doesn't care. If it's true that Pyrocynical sent that to Turk when he was like 15, yeah, dude, I don't think that clears him of anything. I mean, that's still pretty bad. Like, if you're gonna do that, at least like age check the person, dude. You can't just like send stank like that. That's fucking weird. Trippyfox was a relatively small YouTuber who was friends with Pyrocynical and his close associates, even helped Pyrocynical out with one of his old videos.
Something like that. I'm probably going to be doing these milestones every 100,000 subscribers now because I've never really done a milestone video too frequently, but I want to make it a regular thing from now on. Before I end the video, I just want to give a shout out to all the readers that helped me put this video together. Thanks to Super Pro Waffles for the intro animation. Thanks to Capticon and Trippyfox for making that montage of all my previous videos.
But then on March 24th, 2024, Trippyfox decided to tweet out a message between him and Pyrocynical, where it appears Pyrocynical was having a conversation with Trippyfox, who was 15 at the time and Pyro was 19. Here, this can be us. Which one would you be though? Pyro, you have to be the one on the left. Ah. Go on, Skype now, and delete this DM. What? Oh, jeez and Chrysler. Now, when looking at those DMs, yeah, those are like really bad, dude. Like, he sent them fudge and furry fart, and also he was talking to him about that furry fart. And right at the end of those DMs, we see that Pyro says, let's move the conversation to Skype and delete these messages. Now, Trippyfox goes on to claim that Pyrocynical did know of his age when he was 15. Now, for the claims that Pyro did know of his age, and also that Pyro pressured him into doing furry roleplay, no further evidence has been provided for those claims. So far, he's only proven that Pyro did send him. He did go on to state that he does have evidence to back his claims, saying in a tweet that, I have evidence, lol. Just find it eerie since without being properly outed, he or others don't have any reason to change that behavior. I went on to check his Twitter account to see if he's posted any other evidence, but he hasn't tweeted ever since March of 2024. Another weird thing is that Trippyfox is followed by Gordon Ramsay on Twitter, and I checked and it's the actual Gordon Ramsay. Just thought I'd point that out because I just found that to be a weird thing. I don't know why Gordon Ramsay would be following Trippyfox, but whatever anyway. Now, even though Trippyfox does not have any evidence to prove that Pyrocynical knew of his age, I will say I do kind of believe him when he says that Pyro did know of his age. Because when we look at what Pyro said in those DMs, he said, go on to Skype now and delete this DM. Now, when looking at that, it kind of looks like you're trying to hide the fact that you're most probably speaking to a minor while sending him furry, and you don't want to get caught by anyone else. But then, there's also the possibility that he told him to delete these DMs because Pyro was still in the closet about this furry fantasy of his, and he probably just didn't want these conversations getting leaked out to the public. That's another reason as to why he possibly told him to delete these messages. Ronnie was a 15-year-old artist who do fan art of his favorite YouTubers such as Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, Leafy, and Pyrocynical. Now, Ronnie did a fan art piece of Pyrocynical's avatar and even got DM'd by Pyrocynical. In his DM, we see Pyro saying it's not even thick. Now, in the document, they're claiming that Pyrocynical said this to this 15-year-old at the time, that they didn't draw his Sona thick enough, meaning that Pyro wanted it to be more graphic. And they backed these claims through these DMs that was shown in a TikTok. And this whole claim is absolutely ridiculous, dude, because Pyro has already addressed this. Even the artist himself has already addressed this.
Name get dragged through the mud. On a side note, unrelated to this doc, I've actually seen screenshots circulating around of someone who drew like fan art of my Fox character back in 2016. I then apparently replied to them like jokingly saying not thick enough and then asking for their age, and they said 15. So when people saw this, they instantly drew parallels to the allegation. I asked them for a thick version and they drew this, which isn't even really that different from previous things they drew before even getting into contact with me. I didn't commission it. What was drawn wasn't graphic. They'd drawn very similar stuff before, and there was no roleplay here, it was nothing. And the thing is, this wasn't even a call-out post. The person that made the original video just said it was funny.
So I'm gonna address the Pyrocynical video now. This was in 2015. When this happened, I made that video over a year ago. It was not meant to be taken seriously at all. I'm also wearing the same outfit. It was just a funny story from high school, to be completely honest. That's the only thing that I meant by it. I didn't mean it to be a call-out post. The video was not meant to be taken seriously.
That being said, it was incredibly irresponsible of me and not my best look.
Yeah, I really don't get why they tried bringing this whole allegation up. They fucking even did a hard focus saying that, look, Pyrocynical forced him. He demanded that Ronnie make this art for him. It's so dumb, dude. Like, and this is my criticism for this document. In some portions of the document, dude, try to make Pyrocynical look like some type of villain with some of these claims, dude. Like, you did not have to fucking make up this whole stank about Ronnie was being forced to make graphic art for Pyrocynical at 15 years old. Plus, the title for this is Pyrocynical got a 15-year-old to make art. What the fudge? Ken was a 16-year-old furry artist who sometimes created furry graphic content. And the allegations involving Pyro and Ken is that Pyro sent Ken content when Ken was only 16 years old. And this is the image he sent them. In the document, they say that it's not really but dude, honestly, looking at this, that's fudging inappropriate to just send to a kid, dude. And there's no denying that Pyro didn't know of the age because it's been shown in even old screenshots that Ken always had their age in their bio. Now look, this is the only defense I can give Pyro here. It's just that crop part of the DM that just shows Pyro sent them this picture of an obese big tit furry. We don't actually get any other context to what the Twitter DMs were between them. But honestly, I don't think any amount of context could ever justify sending that image to a fucking child. Now, Saku is an old associate of Pyrocynical who claims that Pyro was sending him furry and also engaged in roleplay with 3 other male friends of Saku when they were 16. Now, there are tweets of Saku stating his age online saying at the time he was 16. But even, let's say he never announced his age whatsoever, why the heck was Pyro just like randomly sending furry to people? Because when looking at like the Discord messages, we see like this one dude named Crisp stating him and his brother are both 16. And then Pyro just goes right ahead and just sends them such a thick robot right in that Discord server. Like again, let's give him the benefit of, let's just say, oh hey, he didn't see that message or he didn't know they were fudging underage. Why you just sending random people you're fudging porn, dude? I'm pretty sure we all know who Shadman is, right? But in case you don't know, Shadman is like an infamous artist who was like well known during the mid-2010s era of YouTube. He was just like the dude known for drawing. That's what everyone knew him for. Anyway, the doc goes on to say that Pyrocynical was seen replying to Shadman's tweets. And because of him replying to Shadman's tweet, therefore Pyrocynical was a fan of Shadman. Now, when we look at the evidence they show of Pyrocynical replying to Shadman, we just see Pyro replying to Shadman's tweet. But the problem is that it's just a cropped image. We don't see what he was saying in this reply. We don't even know what he's replying to. But in the doc, they just say that simply because Pyro replied to Shadman's tweet, that means that Pyro is guilty of being a fan of Shadman. Which is like so dumb, dude. Like they show some random tweet of a person saying, since Pyro follows Shadman, he must be a fan of Shadman, which is honestly so dumb because not every follow is an endorsement. I mean, Pyro himself has said this, dude.
I think it's pretty obvious that everyone, like when you follow someone, you don't support them. Like, there's so many people on Twitter that I follow. That I just I either mute immediately or I follow them because it's like keeping tabs. And there are people that do that with me. There are people that do not like me that follow me on Twitter to keep tabs on me. It's a normal thing.
It's an incredibly ridiculous accusation to make that Pyrocynical was a big fan of Shadman simply because he was following Shadman and he replied to one of his tweets. That's pretty dumb, dude. Seylel is a YouTuber who got a shout out from Pyrocynical way back in 2018.
Burn it out all the time. I got my mate Seylel to actually reenact one of these videos of mailing himself to Dami Tukasita.
Yo guys! So today we've got another crazy video for you. I can't believe this is happening to me again. It's almost as if I'm cursed.
But the thing is that people realized that Seylel was like a really small YouTuber. Dude only had like 1,000 subscribers at the time. So it's pretty weird for Pyrocynical to just randomly give a shout out to this small channel with 1,000 subscribers. Till it was found out that him and Pyro were actually best friends ever since they were like kids. Now Seylel had allegations that he had been and mentally abusing a minor named Tiny.
Stressed and that everything would be normal again soon. It never was. Tiny constantly had to push away all the male friends as Seylel was insanely jealous, and eventually she had to push away everyone because he thought she wasn't giving him enough time. Then, as she'd have no one else to spend time with but him, he would push her away saying she was too clingy and needed to find more friends. Tiny was left in a limbo of emotional abuse, often heavily dependent on Seylel whilst not being allowed to express it. She was constantly fat shamed by Seylel, who told her to work out so that she could be skinny or petite enough to fit his lolicon fantasy.
Now if you want a more in-depth coverage of the whole Seylel story, I would recommend you go watch Toastify's 2 videos on Seylel. They go way more in depth about the whole Seylel situation. Now, the reason why Seylel is brought up here is that when he was in a relationship with Tiny, they claim that Pyrocynical knew about this relationship. Now, there's not much evidence provided in the document that shows that Pyrocynical knew that Tiny was a minor or that Seylel was taking advantage of a minor. Even when looking at Toastify's video, Toastify states that Pyrocynical was seen joining Seylel's streams back in 2020
when Seylel was barely active and streaming to only a handful of viewers on Twitch. Pyro would jump onto his Twitch streams.
I'm not a sub, guys. Stop this dumb meme of me being a sub.
Guys, stop bullying me, guys. Please stop it.
Niall, next time I see you, I will ram my dick so far on my ass. Wish that you'd never said
and also a scene with Seylel together in a tweet. And also that Pyro did meet Tiny. But when he did meet her, Seylel just told Pyro that she's 18.
When she flew over to the UK, she said she did not meet any of Seylel's friends. In fact, she noted that during the relationship, Seylel had told Pyrocynical about her, but made it seem like she was 18, and he said the same to all his friends.
So again, there's not really any solid, concrete evidence to show that Pyrocynical definitely knew that Seylel was taking advantage of a minor. And I guess you could say that when he allegedly met Tiny, he should have been able to tell that she was not a child, but then again, Seylel did lie to him, telling him that she's 18 years old. Now, what I do not like in the document is that they are solely blaming Pyro for what Tiny went through. What do you mean it's Pyro's fault, dude? It's like absolutely insane to even accuse Pyro of being at fault for this, when all the blame should be put on Seylel. I don't understand what's this whole idea of like trying to blame Pyro for stuff that other people are responsible for. This is just such an insane accusation to make, dude. Sure, he should have been a bit more suspicious of Seylel hanging out with a girl who looks pretty young, but again, Seylel did lie to Pyro. Now obviously, as you can tell from this video, I tried really hard to defend Pyro throughout this entire video, which is a dead giveaway that I'm a Pyro fan. And I gotta say, it was not fun reading through a 320-page doc that goes over how much of a potential your fave YouTuber is. All I can hope is this, dude. Pyro eventually responds to all of these allegations, and hopefully when his response comes out, it'll like just clear out some of these allegations and we'll finally know what's the truth and what's false, hopefully. Anyway, that's what I'd say about this. Okay, bye.